Literally hours ago, we got confirmation that Wall Street's attack on Bitcoin has been completely coordinated. JP Morgan has spent the past 3 months loudly warning that MicroStrategy would be delisted from Morgan Stanley stock index. Now we have officially found out that that was all fake news. But before we get to that huge news story, just ask yourself, was all of this manipulation in 2025 a part of the bigger plan to crash Bitcoin so that Wall Street could buy cheaper Bitcoin and launch their Bitcoin products at the low? I think that that question answers itself at this point. But anyways, what am I talking about? Let's get into the source material. First and foremost, we're going to start the saga here for you guys, which we covered this on the show a while ago. It was very interesting what happened. This all was also very clearly aligned with the last two dumps in Bitcoin, specifically the October 10th drop. So here's from Yahoo News. They're quoting Crypto News, and it goes, JP Morgan accused of manufacturing the October 10th crash using a 42-day-old document. If you guys don't remember that saga, you didn't watch that show. Essentially, JP Morgan came out and was talking about, oh, hey, there's this big concern about strategy leaving the Morgan Stanley market index. And they were talking about the potential fallout, what this would mean, how this is super bad. And then coincidentally, I think it was literally 2 days later, they launched, JP Morgan, of course, launched a MicroStrategy copycat. So here we go. This is old news at this point, but this does set the stage for what we've seen happen just yesterday. So JP Morgan accused of orchestrating the October 10 crypto crash by recycling, of course, an old letter, warning of MicroStrategy delisting risk and triggering a $19 billion liquidation cascade, which is a lot of the stuff we've been seeing and hearing not only from JP Morgan, but from Larry Fink himself, essentially saying that, hey, Bitcoin's not going away, but the only problem right now is that the market is being driven by all of the leverage in the market, which, if you're reading between the lines, was obviously a cue of saying we're going to liquidate all of the leverage in the market, basically reset the market, and then we can start running again. Now, of course, there's still some debate on whether we are out of the woods so far. You know, I do have Nico here. Nico's still on the boat that, yeah, we're definitely in a bear market. I'm like, bro, we're not. The sideways action is playing out exactly as I said it was. But that's the first story. So that's kind of setting the stage for what we're talking about here. Now, another interesting aspect of this is that when Saylor responded to this, he basically, you know, made the case that, yeah, strategy should stay in this index. We aren't concerned about this. And then, of course, shortly after, JP Morgan came out with what I've been calling a pseudo strategy product, a pseudo MicroStrategy product, or a Michael Saylor copycat product, literally at the exact bottom. It was like 80K when JP Morgan came out and said, hey, you know, yeah, there may be all these concerns with strategy, but look at us. We're doing this as well. Trust us. Jamie Dimon's like, hey, trust me, bro. You know, I'm Jamie Dimon. Of course, I know what I'm doing in the market. Another interesting kind of tidbit of this saga is for the last month or so, we've seen Saylor pop around to, if not both of these banks, at least one of these banks, taking photos and selfies at, you know, what looked like the JP Morgan headquarters. I'm still not sure if he was at the Morgan Stanley headquarters or the JP Morgan headquarters in New York, but he was making the rounds, which now that we have found out what just happened yesterday, it all makes you wonder what is exactly going on. Again, my thesis has been pretty clear. 2025 is the year that all these big banks and institutions can finally get into Bitcoin, which it's not a coincidence that they all essentially entered Bitcoin at 100K. They want to get a good discount. They're literally unloading these Bitcoin products at the last bottom around 80K. And now we find out that all of this was FUD. So here's the, you know, breaking news story. This is the official MSCI announcement. It's like a really, really bad webpage. So, you know, I'm going to struggle a little bit to read this because I got to scroll through it, but just bear with me. So this is an announcement for the MSCI Global Standard Indexes. And MSCI, again, is Morgan Stanley corporate corporate institutional stock index. I believe that's what MSCI. Don't quote me on that one, but it's Morgan Stanley's stock index. Anyways, it goes, MSCI announced his results of the consultation on the treatment of digital asset treasury companies. MSCI is determined at this time not to implement the proposal to exclude digital asset treasury companies from the MSCI Global Investable Market Indexes. There you go. As part of the February 2026 index review. However, MSCI intends to open a broader consultation on the treatment of non-operating companies generally. This broader review is intended to ensure consistency and continued alignment with the overall objectives of the MSCI indexes, which seek to measure the performance of operating companies and exclude entities whose primary activities are investment-oriented in nature. Now, there's a little more of this, but we'll go into kind of what they're going to be looking at. And it goes, for the time being, the current index treatment of digital asset treasury companies identified in the preliminary list published by MSCI of companies whose digital asset holdings represent 50% or more of their total assets will remain unchanged. Digital asset treasury companies currently included in the MSCI index will continue to be included, provided they continue to meet all the other index inclusion requirements. MSCI will not implement increases to the number of shares, foreign inclusion factor, or domestic inclusion factor for these securities, and MSCI will defer any additions or size segment migrations for all securities included in the preliminary list. MSCI may update the preliminary list as necessary to reflect relevant changes in company disclosures related to digital asset holdings. So essentially, they're not doing anything. They're literally not going to do anything. They're not going to, increase the size of strategy or any of these digital asset treasury companies in the index, even if they do better in 2026. But they're also not going to kick them out. They're basically just going to freeze them where they are right now. And here's strategy or MicroStrategy, whatever you want to call it. Here's their response. MSCI confirmed digital asset treasury companies will remain in the MSCI index for the February 2026 review, a strong outcome for neutral indexing and economic reality. Thank you to our investors and the Bitcoin community. So that's the initial kind of saga here. Before I kind of give you some of the, Bitcoin Twitter takes of all this, I think it's very clearly at this point been proven, been confirmed that there is some shenanigans happening from Wall Street. I've been kind of hinting to this. Actually, I've been way more direct than just hinting at it. It seems very obvious what's going on. Wall Street is playing Wall Street games. They come into a tiny market. They obviously want to do whatever they can to accumulate as much as they can in this market before the price goes up. And it makes you wonder, was 2025 the bear market induced because of Wall Street playing games? Whether it was Jane Street shorting at 10 a.m. every morning, whether it was, some kind of agreement with market makers so that BlackRock, JP Morgan, all of these banks can get positions for their ETFs or other products. And I think another little wrinkle that is super interesting is yesterday we just saw as well Morgan Stanley file for their own spot Bitcoin ETF. So as much as we were pointing at just maybe BlackRock or, rather Larry Fink or Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan as being the source for the manipulation, it's starting to become maybe a little broader than just those two monoliths, those two, megalodons in Wall Street. It seems to be coming from almost everyone on Wall Street, which at this point, guys, are we really surprised? Look, Bitcoin's been outperforming Wall Street for the last 17 years. They just were able to get into Bitcoin at 100K. They got a 30% discount on it. It just seems like honestly, as much as I'm a Bitcoiner and you can call me whatever you want, it seems like some smart market making here. They're like, look, we get into 100K. We don't want this to run before we have a position to unleash our products. Obviously, before they got all of the regulatory clarity, it's pretty safe to assume they were having these conversations and talking and building these products. As we've been hinting and showing you guys on the show, the institutions didn't get scared out of Bitcoin in 2025. It seems like they were just planning themselves in the right position to take advantage of what happened in 2025 in Bitcoin, in the price, while everyone was freaking out, expecting either, huge parabolic runs or expecting the 4-year cycle to play out exactly. Hence why I've been saying I think the institutions entering Bitcoin, for better or worse, they fundamentally change what happens in Bitcoin. Now, I know Nico's a little still on board that 4-year cycle is playing out, which to this point, he's not wrong, but I am starting to warm up and start to take my victory lap here. I feel like I'm going to be vindicated here soon, Nico. So, but it's very clear, and from my opinion, if you survive 2025, if you've been stacking in 2025, you may have just stacked through the biggest head fake of Bitcoin in recent memory. The institutions came in, they tried to kneecap Bitcoin so they get a good position. They launched their products. It's literally playing out exactly like the billionaire FUD playbook that I've been talking about for years now. You say, hey, Bitcoin's bad, I don't like it. You kind of FUD it. Then you accumulate or you launch products for Bitcoin. And then once you're ready, it's go time and you're ready to just send all of the capital into Bitcoin. To me, it seems very obvious that this is what's playing out currently. But I do have some Bitcoin Twitter takes on this that we will kind of talk about in a minute. I will pass this to Nico. Nico, can we very clearly say that Wall Street has been manipulating Bitcoin all year long and also specifically trying to destroy strategy?
Well, I have a good friend. Well, the destroying strategy thing is not a thesis anymore. Like we caught them dead to rights, right? Like JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon was literally, fudding strategy in every single way. They were shorting strategy. And then within a week, they coincidentally announced that they were launching a Bitcoin related product that was going to compete with strategy. So that I don't think is I don't think that's a theory anymore. I don't think that's a conspiracy. That is, you can't catch them more dead to rights. Also, I found it kind of interesting that you saw a picture of Michael Saylor at the JP Morgan headquarters in New York City. A lot of people were doing the geo tracking. You could see Central Park in the background, and like people were basically, coming to the conclusion that that was the JP Morgan headquarters where Michael Saylor was. So again, there's definitely some things happening in the background. Now, the first part that you brought up, which is like, has Wall Street been manipulating Bitcoin? Now, I brought this up to a friend who worked in traditional banking. He came from that industry. And I brought up that narrative to him. I'm like, dude, they're manipulating the price. And he's like, Nico, what are you talking about? This is what they do. This is not manipulation. This is Wall Street doing what Wall Street does best. Now, again, from a Bitcoiner's perspective, because me and Opti, got introduced to the financial markets through Bitcoin versus a lot of people, especially a lot of people that watch us, they got introduced to Bitcoin through traditional markets, and then they ran into Bitcoin, right? So it was just kind of like one thing follows the other, rather than we were forced to learn traditional markets just to kind of do a good job for you guys and to talk about it. But initially, we were just Bitcoiners. We were hodling Bitcoin. We learned how to take self-custody and then number go up. Now that Wall Street's kind of involved, it's become a much larger asset. The number go up thing has kind of really gone by the wayside. 2025, no matter how you cut it, how you approach it, how you see it, it was a terrible year for Bitcoin. It was down 8% on the year. Gold was up 63%. Silver was up 123%. And the S&P 500, I don't know what it was up. It was up 32, 20 or 30%, right? So no matter how you want to cut it or slice it or frame it, 2025 was a bad year for Bitcoin. Now, if you're a believer in the 4-year cycle theory, we're still following it to the T, right? We peaked in October of 2025. We have yet to hit an all-time high. My base case is I think we're going to bottom out in the next couple of months or so. And then I think 2026 is going to be a green year, because the theory would be, do I believe that Bitcoin is going to be higher than $87,000 at the end of 2026? That's the theory. Of course it is. I would be very, very surprised if Bitcoin was below $87,000 at the end of 2026. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to have this crazy volatility in the middle of 2026. Now, another thing that I'll add to this as well is going back to your initial question regarding Wall Street manipulating and packing their bags. Wall Street is paying their dues. This is the epoch that Wall Street pays their dues, like Michael Saylor and like Nayib Bukele. This is the epoch that Wall Street pays their dues. And when Wall Street pays their dues and they realize that they made an amazing investment in Bitcoin, I think you're just going to see, a bulls on parade, man. You're just going to see a stampede of companies, of traditional companies that otherwise would have no interest in Bitcoin. All of a sudden, you're just going to see them wanting to get some Bitcoin. And I kept talking to someone, again, experience from like the corporate world, Fortune 500, and he kept saying this to me over and over again. One of the two things that stuck out to me were, listen, Nico, I think it's just a matter of time before the U.S. government announces that it's been accumulating Bitcoin. That's thing number one that he told me. And thing number two that he told me was like, look, I think people and companies in the world still have not truly appreciated Bitcoin's absolute scarcity, because if they have, then it would be a totally different conversation. So I don't think, I think calling it manipulation would be the wrong word. I think Wall Street is doing what Wall Street has always done, right? And it's to just make money off of retail, right? And I think,
and they've definitely made a lot of money off these ETFs.
Yeah, and I mean, like last year, like there were so many, the Trump's family, has so much involvement in the sector, in the space. And there's so many times where Bitcoin started to run. There was 2 times last year where Bitcoin started to run. It was doing fine. And then Trump would like fat finger on Truth Social, talk about tariffs and all this stuff. And the price would dump like 20, 30%. So like, it's kind of like, before they captured Maduro, there was this poly market bet, right, where someone bet like 30,000 that Maduro was going to be captured by the end of January 31st, and whoever that person was made like,
hey yo, Baron, let me get some tips, bro.
Made like they made like $400,000 or $500,000 off a $30,000 investment. So they made a fortune. Now, they could have gone unlucky, or they knew somebody that knew somebody, right? So again, like I don't like, look. If you're saying, oh, Nico, that's unethical, fine. You can make an argument for that, whatever. I disagree. But, this is what do you think Nancy Pelosi is the most successful stock trader of all time just because she's like the next Warren Buffett? No,
no, she's outperformed Warren Buffett.
She's outperformed Warren Buffett. Like, she's worth like $200 million. Like, do you think she's worth $200 million because she's a fantastic trader? Like, you're not supposed to make money in politics. She's made $200 million is because she knows some things about what laws are going to get passed and how those laws are going to benefit specific companies. And she knows before the laws are going to get passed. So she knows how to properly position herself. Like, and I think that could be the case with Bitcoin. Like, you have Bitcoin now in the highest halls of power, right? You have Howard Lutnick, who's a huge fan of Bitcoin. Like, you saw him on Anthony Pompliano's podcast talking about how, he has plans to buy tens of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. And he is the Secretary of Commerce, right? You have Trump's family, Trump himself, like 8th largest Bitcoin treasury company. Trump's family is involved in the Bitcoin mining industry. Like, to think that they don't want number to go up is extremely naive. And I think 2026, because the midterms are really around the corner, in less than a year, I think that it's in Trump's best interest to really make number go up, because that's the only promise from Nashville that he hasn't completed yet. because I'm still waiting for my bags to get pumped, President Trump, and they haven't been pumped yet. But other than that, everything has been, everything has been good. Now, last thing I'll say, because I know I've been rambling for a while, is I got to give a shout out to Rumble. Rumble just announced their non-custodial wallet today, so you could tip us on Rumble.
We already got our first Bitcoin tip on Rumble.
You could tip us on Rumble right now. Someone just sent us Bitcoin. Thank you. Yeah,
Maria Foreman shouts out the first tip.
We just got our first tip on Rumble. So Rumble just launched a non-custodial Bitcoin and Tether wallet, so you can tip us directly to our Rumble wallet if you're a fan of the show. Big shout out to Tether and for Rumble for rolling this out. And again, the key part here is that it's a non-custodial wallet, right? So there's no third-party interference. The assets can't be seized, the money can't be seized. It goes to the creator. Very, very empowering. And then I think that's what's going to potentially put pressure on competitors to kind of get their act together and say, hey, listen, we kind of have to roll something out, right? Market forces do what market forces do best. Anyways, pass it back to you, Opti. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I know you're feeling bullish for 2026, but I think you're crazy, bro. Because
I definitely am crazy. So
the 4-year cycle's intact. It hasn't changed.
I mean, it literally has, though.
How so?
All-time high before the halving.
Okay.
No 3 green, 1 red.
Okay.
That's like the main part about it, which we got 2 green, 1 red.
Mm-hmm.
And so does that mean we're going to see 2026 red or green, therefore invalidating the meme aspect of the 4-year cycle? Though I have been kind of conceding to the point that 18 months after the halving, we did get an all-time highs. So, that's the case. We did get one of the factors. So it really depends on what are we talking about as the 4-year cycle. Now, if that was the bear market, I'm totally okay with this. Maybe Saylor was right that the volatility is going down and we're not getting crazy bear markets again. But my more like institutional take on this, that things have changed essentially since the ETF has came out and launched. And that thesis is still kind of holding up, that we kind of will bubble up, we'll pull back, we'll go sideways, and then we'll make another step up. It's kind of like a slinky right now. So I'm not completely vindicated yet. But with the recent price action, maybe not yesterday and today, but it does feel, especially, and then also all of the Wall Street products that are being launched, even though I don't endorse them, it just makes me feel like you said, 2026 are going to run the money printer extremely hot. All that extra liquidity is going to have to find a home. And I think it's going to hit Bitcoin. Now, we could, have a blow off top and then come back down maybe to these prices or a little higher or something like that. But in my opinion, I think the 4-year cycle is already broken.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's go step by step on what you just said. The meme is definitely invalidated, 100%. I agree with you there. The all-time high before the halving, you can say that is some type of invalidation. I think the 2 green, 1 red, like that is weird. Like that's strange, right?
That's literally the 4-year cycle meme, though.
But
3 green, 1 red didn't happen.
But the timing,
I'll give you that. The timing is pretty
still
good.
The timing is still intact.
4chan's wizards knew it.
So for anyone who doesn't know, right, the timing between the halvings hasn't broken in terms of when the bottom is and when the peak is, right? And it's followed this consistent pattern of I don't know how many months, and this cycle has been no different. We peaked in October.
I think it's 18 months after the halving is usually the all-time high. Yeah. I think that's kind of like the meme.
And it could have, like, honestly, too, like what could have like thrown us a curveball is the fact that we peaked at the halving. Like this could have been like a cycle where most of the gains were actually in the beginning of the cycle rather than towards the end of the cycle, how cycles normally play out. And another thing I'll like to say is everyone wants the 2017 parabola. Like that is what everybody remembers. That's when Bitcoin went mainstream. But if you look at every single one of Bitcoin's halvings, whether it's 2030 or parabolas or euphoria years, whether it's 2013, 2017, 2021, or 2025, they've all played out different. The only textbook parabola year that we've ever had was 2017. 2013, we had like we had like a double tops.
Well, you could argue that 2013,
it was a double top. It was, we had
one
peak, and then it went down, and then it had another peak. And then 2017,
it did go parabolic though.
It went parabolic. It was 2 parabolic double tops. And then 2017 was one giant parabola. And then 2021, what my base case is that it was cut short because of the Chinese Communist Party ban on Bitcoin mining. But regardless, you did have some type of peak. And then the 2025 threw a curveball to everybody because everybody got caught with their pants down. Like everybody scratching and hoping for, a dopamine hit, and just, we never got it. Just never came to fruition, bro. So I don't know, man. Let's see if Wall Street
but hold
is
on, even further. I think honestly, like I know what you're saying, but I think you made my point for me. We don't even have that much data to even believe in the 4-year cycle, and yet we all did believe in the 4-year cycle. It's like we had one 4-year cycle play out perfectly with 2017, though it all played out 3 green, 1 red. That didn't happen. So anyways, let's let me pull up some of these kind of takes on Twitter. There's a few good ones, one spicy here. I'm going to start with the spicy one because this one is super interesting to me. So shouts out to Marilyn Hoddle here. He's quote tweeting the Bitcoin Mag tweet about this, about the strategy not being pushed out of the MSCI index. And he goes, it was all about Wall Street positioning. Keep MSTR, keep strategy contained, engineering new Bitcoin-based structured products to compete, suppressing the Bitcoin price long enough to fund and distribute them, and delaying recognition of stretch as an unstoppable conversion mechanism. This is where it gets spicy. All right. These aren't my words. This is a tweet. And it goes, the only real question was whether Saylor was in on it, whether government fingerprints were involved, or whether this was simply Wall Street doing what it always does. At this point, it doesn't matter. We know where the puck is going. Congrats to those of you that survive the great Bitcoin head fake of 2025. Kind of spicy take there. I love a little spice. Here's probably a more, what do you call it? Measured take, a more kind of neutral take. And he goes, basically, this is James E. Thorne, Dr. J Strategy on Twitter. And he goes, yep, they're up to their old tricks. Yes, strategy is allowed to stay in the MSCI index, but under the surface, games are still being played to suppress Bitcoin and digital assets. MSCI's move exposes how the status quo still quietly works to suppress Bitcoin by freezing index-driven upside while avoiding an explicit ban. They blunt the reflexive benefits of corporate Bitcoin adoption. This is framed as risk management, but functionally protects legacy financial structures from a credible alternative. Did MSCI really think we would not read the fine print? This is probably like the best take of this, a more measured take of it. And then we got one last one. We got James Van Straten. James Van Straten from CoinDesk, and he goes, the game is rigged. The October liquidation crash was completely fabricated. It was all a chance for the big boys to get in lower, which is kind of my take. That's kind of what I've been seeing and what I'm viewing this as. But I think very clearly we can all agree that there is some shenanigans going on. And I think the more measured take is probably like the signal through the noise. Of course, I throw in some spicy memes in there. But as I've been saying the last couple of days, it is very clear that these institutions are begrudgingly accepting Bitcoin. They're not here for, the Bitcoin revolution like we are. They don't really care to hodl. They're just here because, one, of course, clients are probably asking about that. And two, the greed's taking over, which is the aligned incentives of Bitcoin. They've looked at Bitcoin for the last 17 years, and they're like, damn, we literally missed out on the best performing asset because we all thought we were too smart and we all thought this thing was going to go away. And now it's not. Now the president is embracing it. We have to embrace this whether we want to or not. And I think Vanguard was like a perfect example of this. The old CEO was like, Vanguard's never going to have the Bitcoin ETFs. You know, a short time after, they booted him out. And who did they bring in? The literal guy who launched the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF as the head of Vanguard. Shortly after, you know, towards the end of the year, they're like, okay, actually, guys, we're going to launch the Bitcoin ETF. So a lot of shenanigans playing out. But I think it's very clear that they want a good position in Bitcoin. And I think that's what's going on. Hence why I'm still bullish. I'm like, yo, they're going to send it. Like, we're not going to have 2 red years. You know, if we do, hey, I'll be wrong like I was wrong this year. You guys have been calling me wrong in the chat all the time. Yeah, I was completely wrong last year. I did not factor in that JP Morgan, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, and all of Wall Street wanted to get cheaper sats. Okay. Sorry, you know, I'm not an all-seeing person here. I just been reading what's going on. I'm following it along like you guys. But I think 2026, they're going to send it, is my take, especially with the midterms coming up, especially knowing the macro factors, knowing they're going to run the money printer. The Fed just started expanding their balance sheet, which is literally QE without saying QE. I'm like, bro, they're just going to send it. Like they have to.
I mean, look, my base case is I think we're gonna bottom out towards the middle of the year, and then I think we're gonna do I think that Bitcoin's gonna be lower at the end of 2026 than $87,000? No. If it's not lower, then it's a green year, right? Like it's
just going to be like, it's going to be 88 by the end of the year with some licks.
If it's 90K, I am bullish. I am bullish heading into 2027, 2028, and 2029.
Damn, I can't believe we're just completely skipping over 26, bro.
I'm extremely bullish heading into those years because, again, the longer Bitcoin consolidates, and 2025 was a distribution/consolidation year, I think the more explosive upward movement is when it eventually comes. I don't think Bitcoin's parabolas are behind it. I still think Bitcoin has parabolas in its future history. I just don't see that going. I just don't see that going away, man. I don't see that going away.
Yeah. Someone goes, guess we're just here for the entertainment value now because there's no more number go up.
I mean, we literally label ourselves as entertainment. So anyways,
it's over, bro. The Ponzi's over.
Guys, it's going to be an incredible show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I do want to give a shout out to the YouTube audience, to the Rumble audience, to the X audience. And of course, if you're watching us later on DVR, or if you're watching us on the podcasting platforms.
On what? DVR?
Yeah, the DVR, bro. I'm old, man.
Dude, no one's watching us on DVR.
Yeah, bro. If they're watching the show not live, that's DVR.
It's called replay.
Okay, whatever. You're watching the replay of the show. Shout out to you. Smash the like button. Consider subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. And again, check out Rumble. You can tip us directly in Bitcoin and USDT. It's fantastic. It's awesome. Highly recommend it. Anyways, guys.
Wait. Before we go, guys, you got to stick around. We're going to have Larry Lepard jump in.
Yes.
In the culture today. Yes. Just jump in hot. Hopefully it worked for you guys. He's going to give us some market analysis, what he's viewing. You guys got to stick around for the rest of the show.
Absolutely. So Larry Lepard is going to be joining us a little bit later during the culture segment at 2 p.m. So in half an hour, Larry Lepard's going to be joining us. John from Bitcoin Day is going to be joining us as well. We have a packed show. I have a clip of Arthur Hayes calling for $576,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2026. I had to add some bull sauce and opties here. And then,
wow, he's getting bullish.
And then during the news segment, we're going to be talking about the significance of the Rumble bot wallet. This is Trojan horsing the normies into Bitcoin adoption. They built it in a non-custodial fashion. I had the honor of being able to interview the Rumble CEO, Chris Pavlovsky, in Lugano, and we had a chance to talk about all that stuff. So anyways, guys, you're going to want to stay tuned in. It's going to be an incredible show. I don't know if I'm going to be here for the rest of the week, guys. The birth of my daughter could happen any day now, so Opti's going to be holding it down till I come back. But I had to join today's show. Anyways, guys, stay tuned. We're going to be right back in just a little bit. Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
We are back. Whoa, what happened? There we go. We are back. We already got like $10 on Rumble. People literally tipping us Bitcoin, which is fantastic, which is awesome. I do want to give a shout out to our special guest. We have John from Bitcoin Day joining us. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Nico?
Thank you for joining us later on during the culture segment. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin Day. It's coming around. It's literally like 10 days from now. It's going to be happening in Naples, so you definitely don't want to miss it. We're going to be talking about all things Bitcoin Day during the culture segment. But before we get into that, let's get into the numbers. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $91,290. Block height, 931,301. Market cap, 1.82 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 5.72%. Decline from all-time high, negative 27.6%. The grand scheme of things, we are just getting the party started. Anyways, I told you guys I had a clip from Arthur Hayes calling for $576,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2026. That is effing bonkers. Let's check out the clip and then we'll talk about it.
I'm sticking with it. I think I said $250,000 Bitcoin, and I am going to stick with it until December 31st, 11:59.
Pardon me. I tried to make it a little better for you there, Arthur. I tried to say it was 200,000, knock 50 grand off, but you're sticking with the 250. By the end of 2026, what do you think?
I think we're be 500 to 750,000 Bitcoin. I think 2026 and 2027, this is the meat of the money printing. The Trump administration is going to do what they know how to do best. What every government knows how to do best. When in doubt, print the money. If the people are unhappy, print the money and hand them a goodie. And they're going to show up at the polls and hopefully vote for you.
So that was the base case that we've had for a while now, right? But what I will say is, bro, you and Arthur Hayes would get along really, really well, Opti.
Well, I did see some pictures of him over at Space a couple of times. So, maybe we would get along. You know what I'm saying?
But $576,000 Bitcoin. His theory, though, is the same theory that we have, right? Which is the Republicans that are heading into a midterm year, they're going to get smoked as things stand. The first year of Trump's presidency wasn't exactly his most popular. He definitely started the year strong with the Maduro thing. That definitely bumped him up in popularity. A lot of people appreciated that. He definitely won over the Hispanic vote, at least here in South Florida, with that move. But I want to see more. I was promised all-time highs in Nashville in 2024.
Well, he came through with that.
Yeah, bro, but it was like he said moon. He said have fun with your Bitcoin.
I was promised 150 early in the presidency. That's what I heard.
I was promised a lot more, bro. So I want more. I want more. I want the print that money. Print that money. That's what I want to see. Jerome Powell is going to get replaced this year. We're going to have a more, pro-Trump Fed chair, which is good. We shall see how that ends up. But anyways, John, welcome to the show. Happy to have you. That prediction is very aggressive. What would you say to that?
Well, I mean, it's not as aggressive as some of the other predictions that were missed in 2025, right? I mean, the Samson Mao $1 million prediction was way off, and but yeah, I think that's probably a little aggressive. But I'm not much into price predictions. I just feel like Bitcoin is going to be at some higher level a year from now, and it's going to be whatever it is. And I'm not really a price watcher. I look at it from the long-term perspective. I'm in it for the long haul, and I know that if I zoom out, I'm going to see an upward curve because the demand is going to continue to increase. And as we do this education that we do, and we onboard more and more people understand the principles of Bitcoin, the demand is going to continue to increase, and that will just drive the price up because of the sound principles of sound money that Bitcoin has.
Okay, I'll take that argument at face value, John, but what the F happened in I'm gonna ask Larry this question too. What the F happened in 2025? We got smoked by silver. We got smoked by gold.
Literally got smoked by everything.
The S&P 500 took us to school. I think it was like the only Christmas where, that uncle that you have is like, ha ha ha, I got you. So Bitcoin does have all these characteristics, as you said, but why did it underperform in 2025? And what makes you think 2026 is going to be different?
Man, put me on the spot. I am not really an analyst, Nico. So I think that all I can tell you is what I hear from different people. The theory that I think I liked the most is that that there's so many institutions, so many large players in the game now that they were suppressing the price to get to the end of the year so they could claim capital losses. And that soon, I mean, it did happen kind of like I heard that as soon as the January hit, we started to see a little bit of a price increase. It's not going up that much, but it's still kind of going upwards. And so maybe that theory is correct.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I'm excited. I'm excited about 2026. Look, once we get through either the pain or the boredom, my base case is still 500K by 2030. That's my base case. If Bitcoin doesn't hit 500K by 2030, I think we need a new job, bro.
Oh, it's over, dude. If Bitcoin is a stable coin this year, it's over for us without a doubt.
So, anyways,
no, but let me jump in here.
Yeah,
let me
a little bit on that.
Well, I'm just saying, look, number go up drives new people into the space, for better or worse. That's just how it works, guys. Look, don't shoot the messenger. That's just how it works. We've seen it play out multiple times. That's how I got into Bitcoin. You come for the gains, you stay for the revolution. That's usually how it works out. So if we don't see price go up, one, there's not going to be new people coming in learning about Bitcoin. Two, Bitcoin's not even keeping up with inflation at that point. We're just getting cooked overall. Like everything's broken. But I do want to hit on Arthur Hayes' prediction a little bit. You guys know me. I've been the only one bullish on this show throughout the whole year, even when I was wrong. I'm still bullish on this year. But I'm going to be honest with you. Like, what do you say? 575 by end of year? Like that's crazy talk, in my opinion. Like, hey, I'd love to see it, I do agree with his thesis. I think that is exactly what's going on, and that's why I am maintaining my bullishness, is because, as he essentially said, the Trump administration is going into a midterm. And, he's not running again after the midterm. So, like, this is kind of his last hurrah. And if the Republicans do not maintain control during the midterms, like this whole presidency, his second term is just completely cooked.
Dude, he said it at the GOP House retreat. He literally, bro, by the way, you guys have to see this speech because me and Opti were just literally dying of laughing.
Oh, yeah. The one this morning was insane.
That was at the GOP retreat.
That was insane.
But that was part of his speech. But anyways, Trump was making the case that, look, here's the thing. If Trump doesn't keep the House, they're going to impeach him again.
Yeah, it's over.
It's not like they're going to impeach him to get him out of office, but they're going to impeach him to impede his presidency, right? So he really had these 2 years to make a mark. The first year, I'll give him a C+ to B-. It was not that great. So far, 2026, I'm giving him an A because the Maduro thing,
the edits were lit,
and the memes and the things he was dropping, they were lit, and now he's just talking about like as if he owns the country.
And now going for Greenland or something,
now they're making a bid for Greenland. Like, yes, this is literally what I voted for. I don't know what the F happened last year. That was lame. So let's see what happens in 2026, because I'll tell you what, all of the Bitcoiners, all of the people that own Bitcoin and crypto, if that is making all-time highs by the end of the year, by the time we get to midterms, Opti's probably going to vote. Opti's going to be happy. Opti's going to be hyped.
That's a big if.
Bro, are you telling me that if we're not at $500,000 Bitcoin, you're not going to be like, yeah, I'm going to?
Wow. I mean, I would just say that Bitcoin's doing Bitcoin things,
And what do you think? So you don't think if the Dems take back the House, Bitcoin's going to just?
Oh, yeah, we're going to get cooked.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay. All right. Enough of that.
Anyways.
But, wait. I do want to add a little bit because there is like good context to this. I think kind of the biggest thing that like sunk in to me recently is that, the Republicans historically are voted in because they kind of run on this like pro, really healthy economy. And as of last year, even though the official numbers have been coming out, the economy is doing so well. You've heard all of the, golden age memes, et cetera, et cetera. But on Main Street, everyone's feeling something different. And so like what Arthur Hayes said is, they might not go full helicopter money on this, but they got to run the economy so hot that everyone starts to feel like they're better off, or else they're really going to get cooked in the midterm. So that's kind of my take.
By the way, we got Larry Lepard. He just joined us. We're gonna include him right after the break. We're gonna be back in just a little bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
All right, everybody, we are back again. Go to bitkey.world today. Use promo code SIMPLY. Get 20% off. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin. All right, everybody, we got the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Larry Lepard joining us on the show today. Larry, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Thanks for joining us. And of course, we got John from Bitcoin Day. Larry, I haven't had you on the show. It's been a while now. It's been like 6 months.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start off with this because I think everybody has a lot of questions with what happened in 2025. You had a record year for silver, golds, even though the size of the asset is enormous, literally went parabolic. I think it was up 63% on the year. The S&P had an incredible year as well. What the hell happened with Bitcoin, Larry?
Well, Bitcoin became kind of risk off. You know, liquidity didn't flow as much as we thought in the calendar year 2025, and you know, the stock market held together just because it does that. It's you know, it's kind of engineered to hold together. And gold and silver took off because of the debasement trade, and because, you know, most of the world still doesn't fully understand Bitcoin, but they do understand gold and silver in terms of being sound money. So, you know, they're the first go-to choice, and therefore they've taken off. I mean, what I would add, though, that I think is very important for your audience, for everybody to understand, is that this is an incredibly positive development for Bitcoin, because this happened once before. It's happened a couple times before. The most dramatic case of where it happened, though, was in 2019, 2020, when the original Powell pivot took place and then COVID occurred. Gold went up from, I don't know, 1,200-ish, 1,300 area to 2,000 very, very quickly, which was quite a big move at the time. And Bitcoin set flat for another 3 to 5, maybe 6 months. And then Bitcoin woke up and it went from 10 to 60. So it did a six-bagger in literally in a matter of months. And that's kind of the way this asset trades. You know, people didn't originally understand that all the liquidity that Powell was creating would flow into Bitcoin too. And so they kind of ignored Bitcoin. And to be fair, the liquidity is just getting started. I mean, the Fed pivoted in Q4. They didn't call it that, but it is what it is. They call it reserve management, but it's really just QE. They're printing money. They went from letting their balance sheet run off to expanding their balance sheet. You know, 40 billion a month, and that's just the beginning. And as Lynn says, it's you know, she calls it the gradual print, which I accept. I mean, 40 billion a month is only 480 on a balance sheet of 6.5 trillion. That's still modest, but I think the gradual print's going to morph into the big print. I think the reason that's going to occur is that we're back at the point at which money is really tight, and there's all kinds of signs of that. You know, the Fed didn't want to cut rates in the fourth quarter. The Fed didn't want to do what it did. They've tried to rebrand it. You know, they made it seem like, oh, it's no big deal. This is just reserve management. It's not really printing money, but it's printing money. And so, you know, you can smell the big print coming. I think it's highly likely it'll come this year. And I think when it comes, Bitcoin's going to scream. I mean, we're going to double or triple probably very quickly. So it's just the nature of the beast. I mean, it's interesting to me psychologically that everyone in Bitcoin land now feels the way that the gold people felt in 2023 when gold was flat on its ass after, you know, well, Bitcoin was too, but after Powell did his whole tightening act, it really hammered gold, and more importantly, it hammered the gold miners. And so we were all walking around pretty beat up. wondering if it's ever going to work. And of course, just give it a little bit of time, and it's worked in spades. I mean, Gold Mining to the Seas, my fund, et cetera, everything's up 150% plus in 1 year. And so I think that's really what Bitcoiners have to look forward to. And, everybody's kind of getting tested. Do you truly have a long time preference or not? I mean, I get it if you bought it a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever, or, even if you bought it at the top at 124, you're down to 90. That's uncomfortable. But those of us who've been around it for a long, long time know that, it can lose 70% of its value and it'll come back. So it's going to come back, and I expect it'll come back with a vengeance this year. By the way, it also makes MicroStrategy just an unbelievably compelling buy. And I find it hilarious that everybody's, shitting on Saylor and hating Saylor, and, all the people who got sucked into these, Bitcoin treasury companies and lost a lot of money are very angry at the narrative that some of the high profile influencers used, this Bitcoin per share metric that they promoted as a kind of a perpetual motion machine, which it wasn't. And so there's a lot of bitterness, and we just got to wring out all the weak hands, and then we'll go up to a new level. And I think that new level will be somewhere between 180 and 300, something like that. I think that'll probably be achieved, this year, early next year. I mean, but to be fair, I was wrong about this year. I thought gold this year would go to 4,000 or 5,000, so that we got that right. I thought silver would go to 50. It overshot that. And I thought Bitcoin could go to 140, and actually made it to 123, but not for very long. And then it backed and filled around 91. So, or 80, 90, so it's going to happen. And it's just, people they've got to dial out and take a longer term perspective. If you're not happy with Bitcoin, you're not looking at the longer term picture. That's kind of the way I see it.
So, Larry, Bitcoin is not boring. The best days of Bitcoin are still in front of it.
Absolutely.
Wall Street has not been able to capture Bitcoin.
Well, there's a little bit of paper. There's more paper Bitcoin today than there used to be. I mean, if you look at Checkmatey's data, and he's probably the best guy for following this. I mean, the Bitcoin futures market has grown. People are issuing paper Bitcoin. I mean, they're going to get their faces ripped off when it does what it does. They've been issuing paper gold and silver for decades, and that's partly why once silver broke through 50, that's why it's been so aggressively up, because people are asking for the metal to be delivered, and the paper outweighs the amount of metal, and everyone's realizing that. So we've got a massive short squeeze going on. But Bitcoin has not been entirely captured, but it's becoming a wider held, more institutionally known asset, and there is a large futures market that trades around Bitcoin, and I'm sure there's some people who are short Bitcoin. I mean, that will be, in a world of pain when this whole thing reverses on them. So we have that to look forward to, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Absolutely. I stand with you, Larry. I agree with you, but I will say that 2025 was quite surprising. And it was like upside down world, it was like it was Peter Schiff's year. Is that safe to say?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's tried to do a victory dance of, having 1 year out of, 20 where he's been right, or 16 where he's been right. But this doesn't, so the biggest thing I think people have to understand when they're making investments is they have to ask themselves, what time frame am I trying to do this over? Am I trying to do this for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years? I mean, I invest for 5 and 10 years. And so, recognizing that, especially with this asset, there's a lot of volatility and it can turn against you. If you go look at the drawdowns, I mean, this is in my book, it shows historically there've been some very major drawdowns, but it always comes back to make higher highs. And it will again. I'm very, very highly confident of that, unless something changes. And I don't imagine, I can't really see anything changing. So, and at that point in time, everyone will think it's going to 1 million overnight, and it'll probably go to 200 or 300, and then it might correct back from there. I mean, this is, it reminds me actually of Amazon and the adoption of Amazon. Bill Miller held a big position in it from the beginning, and it was down 90% in 2008. It was down 70% a couple other times. It was down 50%. Many times it was down 30%, a dozen times. And yet it always came back to make new highs, because just like Bitcoin, it was a network that was growing in value based on the number of users. As a leading online reseller of things. And, Bitcoin's the leading, online version of money and most secure version of money in the world, and therefore, you know, it's always going to come back. So I'm pretty calm about it all, but you know, that's because I've been at it for a long, long time. I'm sure you guys are too, but you know, we have to explain to the people who are newer in it and maybe more impatient. And I always, you know, I've always said to Bitcoiners, when we get people into this, we've got to explain to them what they're buying. We've got to tell them about the downside risks so that when it happens, their inclination is, I want to buy more, not did I make a mistake, should I sell it? And, you know, I mean, I've had a lot of Bitcoiners reach out to me and say, did I make a mistake, should I sell it? And I'm like, no, you should be buying more right now. And you should be buying MicroStrategy right now. You know, the power law model is a model that I use. I think it's a pretty accurate model. And I think it'll work until it breaks. It'll break when fiat currency fails. But until that happens, it's a good model. And the power law has the coins at about 120,000 as fair value, kind of midpoint. And so, you know, at 80 or 90, we're below fair value. And as we all know, at times it trades at 2 or 3 times fair value. So it could easily go to a couple hundred. And it probably will. And then, you know, off that 250 peak, it'll correct back to 120 or something, 130. I don't know. I mean, it's just, you know, you've got to think about it longer term. And if you do that, you know, you can kind of relax and just recognize that, you know, it's going to work for the next 20 years. So that's kind of how I see it.
Larry, before we start talking about Bitcoin Day,
Sure.
what is your thoughts on the 4-year cycle? Because a lot of people, I think a lot of Bitcoiners are expecting, hey, we peaked in October. It's been following this 4-year cycle. And, you know, if history repeats itself, 2026 is destined to be kind of this bear market year. What are your thoughts on that theory? Do you still think the 4-year cycle is intact? Was there ever a 4-year cycle?
I think there was a 4-year cycle, certainly in the earlier days when the reward was much larger and the institutional demand wasn't present. And we were just dealing with kind of individuals and miners and you know, larger rewards. I think it's gone now. I think it will continue to be cyclical, but it'll be cyclical just based on fear and greed and leverage. You know, and that's what drives all asset markets. You know, Bitcoin is dead, and you know, right now the sentiment is pretty shitty. Or you know, Bitcoin's going to 1 million, and I can't get enough, and I got to chase it. I got to go buy it at 250. That's the sentiment part of it. But you know, when you're down to less than 1%, you know, I think you're 0.9 or 0.8 or 0.9 new issuance per year, and you've got the ETFs and institutions gobbling up much more than that. It's really not a supply demand story on the mining basis, on the, you know, that originally I think created the 4-year cycle. When you're issuing 50 of them every 10 minutes, or you know, 25 or 12 and a half, that's a lot of supply. You know, maybe compared to a demand that wasn't growing as fast. Now you've got demand everywhere. You've got it in sovereigns, you've got it in ETFs, you've got it in individuals, you've got people who read my book. You know, just everybody and their brother now understands what it is. And by the way, we're still pretty early. It's not, I say everybody my brother who's woken up to it. Once you wake up to it and you study it, you know you got to own it. But, you know, we're still probably less than 5% total penetration of meaningful ownership. And by the way, I mean, the same is true of gold and silver. I mean, it's like gold and silver, like 1 to 2% of institutional assets out there. I mean, you know, as recently as the beginning of this year, like 70% of the country didn't own any gold or silver. I mean, any, like zero. You know, and those who did, I mean, the people who own more than 10% of their portfolio in gold and silver, that was probably measured in the single digits. So if you did own it, maybe it was 1 or 2%. And, you know, and then this year Morgan Stanley comes out and they says, you know, the 60-40 stocks bonds model, that's broken. It should be 60% stocks, 20% bonds, 20% gold. Well, that was an earthquake. And that's what led to the enormous growth in the gold ETF this year. And, you know, Morgan Stanley manages trillions and trillions of dollars. And I've talked to Morgan Stanley brokers, and what they say is, yeah, we heard all that. And yeah, we got our clients saying, hey, it's going up a lot. Why don't I own any? And so they kind of hold their nose and say, all right, well, we'll buy you some. And they add a 1% allocation or 5% allocation so that at the end of the year, they can say, hey, see, you own some gold and it did okay. You know, when really they should own a 30% allocation. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, we're still very, very early in the widespread acceptance of this debasement trade. I I don't think we're early in the widespread knowledge that people are getting screwed by inflation. I think that's actually, that knowledge is quite widespread. I think the issue is many people have not figured out how to deal with it. But they will as they see their neighbors who own gold, silver, and Bitcoin do well relative to them. They're going to think to themselves, why don't I own some of that too? And that's coming, right?
Absolutely. Well, Larry and John, we have the Bitcoin Day coming up in 10 days from now in Naples, Florida, at the Four Seasons. Looking forward to it. I'm going to be there. John's going to be there, obviously. Larry's going to be there. We also have some other fantastic speakers, including Natalie Burnell, CJ, and many, many more. It's going to be awesome. Gary Cardone, Bob Barnett, Michelle Weekly, Luke Dash Jr. It's going to be awesome. You guys don't want to miss it. It's going to be at the Four Seasons in Naples, Florida, January 17th. John, if you want to talk a little bit about it, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so we're super excited about the new venue. You know, it's a huge upgrade from what we've done the last few years, and the Four Seasons is right on the beach. It's called the Naples Beach Club, and it's the former Naples Beach and Golf Club, and it is they completely demolished the old building and completely rebuilt everything, and it is an absolutely gorgeous venue. We're gonna have all day. We'll be up in the conference center and doing all of those great panels, and hearing all the great content from the speakers. There's going to be a lunch included, so there's lots of outdoor space. January in Naples, Florida is absolutely gorgeous. And then after the conference is over, at the end of the day, we'll have a reception down on a lawn that has an ocean view. So we'll move everybody down. We'll have a few drinks on the beach, and then close out the night at the Sunset Bar right there at the venue as well. So if you want to spend the day on the beach hearing some of the highest signal Bitcoin content that you've ever heard, come to Naples on January 17th.
Absolutely. I could attest to that. I've been going to the ones the last couple of years. They've been fantastic. A lot of signal. Big step up, John. 4 seasons. Holy cow.
We've arrived.
Arrived, yes.
Bitcoin is making moves. Bitcoin Day is making moves. So, Larry, I know you're going to be there as well. John, do you want to give a little bit of a sneak peek on the panels that Larry's going to be on?
Sure. Larry is going to be on the first panel of the day. He's going to open the day and he's going to close the day for us. The first panel of the day, Bitcoin in the real world, macro, media, and adoption. So the moderator of that panel is Bobby Iacchino, who does the Future's Edge podcast, and he writes a weekly newsletter. And then Natalie's going to be on the panel with Larry and Cedric too. So that'll be a really great start of the day macro panel. And then Larry's going to close us out at the end of the day with Natalie and Gary Cardone and CJ. We're going to do an audience Q&A. So we're going to just open up the floor for the audience and give them 30 minutes to ask questions to these 4 great speakers.
The other thing I would say, John and Nico, is that we're going to be Natalie and I have both published books. Mine will be actually almost a year old, and it came out in early February. And Natalie's is more recent. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for the plug. And I will have hard copies. I think Natalie will have copies of hers, and anyone who wants to buy a book and get it signed and inscribed to yourself, your friends, or whatever, we'll be doing that throughout the day. So just want to make people aware of that.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to say we're thrilled to provide a space for Larry and Natalie to do that and share their books with everyone, and have their fans get the books signed.
I gotta say, with Larry's book, what's one of the things that me and Opti keep memeing, right? When we talk about the inevitable print that's coming, We keep referencing the Lynn Alden meme, "Nothing stops this train," and of course, the Larry Lepard meme, the big print. So yeah, I think I do agree with Lynn. I do agree with Larry. It's inevitable. They tried to get Elon in there to like cut the spending, and he was literally kicked out of town, right?
Well, not only that, but what happened there is Elon's a smart guy. And, you know, he was there for 2-3 months and he realized, he said to himself, you know, this is FUBAR. I can't do it. I'm out of here, right? I mean, I don't think they kicked him out as much as he just gave up. And who can blame him? I mean, the system really is incredible. I mean, it's just one new outrage after another. I mean, this Nick Shirley video just had me seeing red. I hope that's like, you know, the shots fired in Lexington, you know, on April 19th. I mean, it's just unbelievable how bad our government systems are, and we've just got to fix this stuff, you know?
Yeah, and what's crazy too about the Nick Shirley video as well is the governor of Minnesota, he was running for vice president.
Oh yeah.
That's the wild part. Like that guy was very close to being vice president, and there's this like systemic fraud that was happening, you know, and again, the millions of wasted taxpayer dollars. This is what Bitcoiners talk about. This is why we truly believe in the separation of money and state. We believe in that no one should have the ability to create money for free that someone else has to work for. It misaligns incentives and it creates situations like that. Yeah. And it literally took a 23-year-old YouTuber to do the job that legacy media should be doing, that has budgets of, you know, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And it literally took a kid with a GoPro and a microphone to uncover this fraud. And not only that, to get the government to actually do something about it, you know? And I know that, you know, the official announcement by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, but it sounded like reactionary. It didn't really sound like they actually gave an F on what was happening, nor were they aware of what was happening. So it was just like the amount of public pressure that was mounted. It just made the government look really, really bad. And it also didn't help the fact that a lot of these legacy media outlets, instead of, again, reporting on the news, there's this very famous video of CNN basically trying to discredit Nick Shirley. And it was literally a video of the CNN reporter in her hotel room calling the daycare centers. And they're like, okay, we can't confirm that this is true because 6 out of the 7 daycare centers didn't pick up the phone. And then the one that did pick up the phone said that they weren't committing fraud. Like, it is like it.
Yeah, you can't make it up. I mean, it's just horrific. I mean, but it's the beauty of you know, the decentralization that technology has given us. I mean, that he could have a cheap camera and a cheap phone, and he could put it out there. And I think this is like the all-time leading viral video on YouTube or Twitter. I mean, I think he's got 140 million plus views, and it's unbelievable. I watched it. I was just stunned. I just could not believe it.
Absolutely.
And why hasn't the mainstream media picked up on it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, they've all tried to discredit him, or they've ignored it. I mean, they just try to, you know, cubbyhole it. And it's, look, I mean, this is a fourth turning, and we need to fix all this stuff. And fixing the money is where we start.
And that's part of the basis of your book, Larry, is, you know, basically like a lot of these things that you're seeing in societies are symptoms of the money being broken.
Absolutely.
Why we're focusing on fixing the money, fix the world. That's not a hyperbolic statement. That actually will fix a lot of these things that we're seeing going on in society.
Yeah, no, the government does what it does because it can get away with it, and get away with it because it can print the money to do it.
Absolutely.
If you take the money away, then a lot of problems arise for them, as should be the case. So
Absolutely. Guys, if you want to see Larry Lepard in person, go to Bitcoin Day Naples. Again, it's coming up January 17th. Get your tickets now before the prices go up. John is throwing a hell of an event. The 4th annual Bitcoin Day Naples, upgrading, going from a conference room to now the Four Seasons. I'll take it. That sounds fantastic. You're not going to want to miss it. January 7th, 2026. 10 days
17th.
away.
January
17th.
Sorry, guys. I'm having
in person too.
my wife is having a baby this week. I have not slept, so I'm doing the best that I can. January 17th, 2026, 10 days away. You're not going to want to miss it. Four Seasons, Bitcoin Day Naples. Opti, I'm trying to convince Opti to come. I'm going to put him on the spot. Opti, you're coming, right?
Come on, Opti.
I guess. Yes.
Opti's coming.
And don't forget about our carnivore dinner with Dr. Sean Baker on Friday night. It's going to be excellent. We got a local rancher providing the meat and a Native American chef doing the cooking. So that's going to be an awesome event as well. You can get tickets on. There you go. Thank you. You can get the tickets on the website for that as well.
That sounds delicious and fantastic at the same time. I will be at the dinner as well. It's going to be great, guys. Bitcoin Day Naples. Go to bitcoinday.io to get your tickets today. Again, I'm going to be there. Opti's going to be there. Larry Lepard's going to be there. Natalie's going to be there. CJ's going to be there. Michelle Weekly's going to be there. And many, many more hardcore Bitcoiners. You're not going to want to miss it. Larry and John, thank you guys so much for joining us on the show today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nico.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you, John. We'll see you soon.
Yep. See you soon.
Thank you, guys. Take care. All right, everybody. We still have a ton of content left for you guys. We're going to be talking about the release of the Rumble wallet that just got dropped. We're going to be talking about it after the commercial break. We'll be right back in just a bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at Hive Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank. And you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth. And join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io. Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Guys, big effing news for content creators. The Tether Rumble wallet was just released. Officially, it's called the Rumble wallet. It is so effing easy to use. Literally, guys, go. If you're watching us on Rumble right now, you click the tip button, a QR code pops up, and boom, you're ready to tip with the Rumble wallet. Download it today. It's live on the App Store, on the Google Play Store, and on the Apple App Store. Guys, we already got $10 in tips. Shout out to the people watching us on Rumble. Again, guys, the significance of this, and I had the pleasure of being able to interview the CEO of the CEO of Tether and the CEO of Rumble in Lugano, Switzerland. We've been dropping the interviews over the last couple of weeks on all the Simply Bitcoin channels. The significance of this is the non-custodial aspect. So again, people can't freeze this. This is your money, right? So if people don't like what you have to say, or what your speech or your ideas or your opinions, regardless of how unpopular they are, they can't deplatform you. And that's a big deal, guys. So go to wallet.rumble.com and support your favorite creators on the #1 free speech video platform on planet Earth, which, in my opinion, as a content creator, is someone who has been deplatformed in the past, whose entire business depends on video platforms. We're big fans of the free speech alternative. Even though I do got to give credit to credit is due. YouTube has been getting better. I do want to read the direct post by the CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky. If it's not clear, I'll make it clear. Rumble Wallet will compete directly against Coinbase and Venmo, but we're not custodial and we cannot shut down your account. It's true financial freedom to buy, hold, and tip in crypto, built and backed by Tether and Rumble. Tim Pool, one of the most well-known content creators on the face of the planet, says not only is your account safe from third-party pressure, but it allows regular people to easily trade USD, gold, and Bitcoin. It is bringing crypto to a normie market, easier to trade and understand. It's the next big step needed if regular people use Bitcoin on a daily basis. They actually made an AI video of it. It's pretty cool. Let's play it, and then we'll talk about it.
I know many of you won't like what I'm about to say on this stream, but the truth needs to be heard.
They said free speech, then shut down your mic. They said your money, then froze your account.
Guys, I'm about to show you the campsite. Whoa!
You don't need permission to speak. You don't need approval to get paid. Rumble Wallet is your fortress.
We're live,
No
baby.
middlemen,
Let's go.
no deplatforming, no one to cancel your tips, not run by banks, not hosted by big tech. Rumble is digital freedom, is how you earn it. Rumble Wallet, the GOAT wallet.
Get Rumble Wallet to tip your favorite creators.
Did we just see a talking goat?
The GOAT wallet.
The GOAT wallet. I'll take it. But it is, to give our boys at Rumble the credit, where credit is due. It is a non-custodial wallet, ladies and gentlemen. So, you do have an opportunity to write down your seed phrase and your seed. Oh, we're dumping again. Write down your seed words and your seed phrase.
They don't like the Rumble wallet.
And again, as a creator, this is fantastic. This is awesome. I love this, right? It's a free speech platform. There's a lot of things, Megan. There's a lot of things. I have to show her that. There's a lot of things that Opti and I have to be very conscious on what we say because of the platforms that we're on, right? If you guys happen to have caught the 2 or 3 or 4 Simply Bitcoin episodes that were Rumble exclusive, we went bananas, right? Like we just said whatever the F we wanted. And then we're going to be doing them once a month with our boy Bitcoin Ben. And that is Rumble exclusive. We literally cut the feed on certain platforms and we only stream it on Rumble, and Bitcoin Ben could say whatever he actually wants to say, right? Which is great. This is the whole point of freedom of speech. Listen, guys, freedom of speech is not meant to be this pretty thing. It's meant to be messy. People are meant to have disagreements. Like, that's the whole basis of this country. That's how it's supposed to function. The idea that, again, if you're not calling for violence or anything, if you just have an opinion on a certain subject, the fact that you can't say that out loud, I think has had terrible implications for society. I think it's regressed society in many different ways. So the fact that you're able to speak your mind on a video platform that has volume, that has people on the platform, I think is a net benefit for humanity. It's a good for humanity. I really believe that in the bottom of my heart. And the fact that they've teamed up with Tether, which again it's a company run by Bitcoiners, and they've released a non-custodial Bitcoin wallet, is fantastic. It's really good. I hope it gets adopted. This is like Trojan horsing the normies, and let's see where it goes. Let's see where this takes us. Right? That's how I feel about this. I actually like Nico on Rumble. Yeah, I have PTSD, guys, at this point. You know, I have to watch out with what I say and stuff like that. But it's just about survival. Like, it's just what it comes down to. So, you know, anyways, guys,
wait. I do want to add one last thing. I think, you know, we've been talking about, as Bitcoiners for a long time. We've talked about, you know, the adoption of Bitcoin, or like the iPhone moment of Bitcoin. And I'm not necessarily saying that this is the iPhone moment for Bitcoin per se, but I say all that to essentially say, you know, from the numbers that I've seen, there's about 50 to 70 million people that use Rumble. Now, they're obviously being kind of, I don't know, I slow rolled into Bitcoin maybe. So, you know, the real headline here could be basically 50 to 70 million people are now able to be onboarded on Bitcoin. And that tweet by Pavlovsky was kind of a Chad take. He's like, we're coming after Coinbase and Venmo here. Non-custodial Bitcoin wallet. You can buy Bitcoin in it. You can send Bitcoin in it. And I think this is one of those moments that is just like perfectly aligned with the Bitcoin ethos, you know, a freedom of speech platform, integrating freedom money. It's just like, this is what you love to see. You know, maybe for some people it's not perfect. Maybe they want to see it on like YouTube or something, but like, shouts out to the Rumble team for basically unleashing Bitcoin on their platform, embracing Bitcoin, embracing the ethos. And we'll see how many of those 50 to 70 million people are onboarded onto Bitcoin now, because they will want to essentially tip their favorite, you know, creators on Rumble. And like Nico was saying, from our perspective, shit, if we could get a bigger platform on Rumble than on YouTube, hey, that would be amazing.
Hey, our Rumble channel is blowing the F up, right? Like, it's growing super fast. Shout out to all you guys subscribing to us. Go to rumble.com/simplybitcoin.
Yeah, everyone on YouTube, watch us on Rumble.
We're on Rumble, and it's growing fast. So we're huge fans of the platform. Again, we support free speech here at Simply Bitcoin. And I just want to check out some of these comments before I wrapped it up. Also, shout out to Nostr. We've gotten 1,409 sats today. Shout out to all the people that zapped us on Nostr. We got 7 people watching live. So again, free speech platforms, free speech protocols, and of course the OGs, YouTube and X. Even though X has been pretty good with free speech as well.
Yeah, X has been pretty chill.
Anyways, I do want to read some of these deprecating Nico posts. Let's start with this one. I actually Buck52,000 says, I actually like Nico on Rumble. Family Diaz says, Nico's one red candle away from crying on air, just like Jordan Peters.
Let's go.
Chef Tommy BTC says, money talks, Nico. I don't know what that means, but I'll take it. Down Under Blue says Nico's on fire on Rumble, and Family Diaz says Rumble Nico peak.
Rumble Nico's peak. Yeah, I don't know.
I think Nico peak was like 2 years ago.
I think Nico peaked in 2020.
I was dropping some fire back. I don't even know if my brain could do that anymore. Chef Tommy says, I do really enjoy Nico on Rumble. And anyways, guys.
Okay. So if you like Nico on Rumble, then we need everyone that watches us on YouTube to port over to Rumble, so that maybe, you know, the incentives start aligning and we just go Rumble only forever.
Exactly. So, guys, we have to go where the audience is at. We have to go where the volume is. You know, we're a media company at the end of the day. We survive off advertising revenue. We survive off views. So we do our best. But we do have some plans for 2026 that I think you guys are going to love and enjoy. We're going to be announcing those a little bit later. But anyways, guys, until then, guys, go to bitcoinday.io, get your tickets. I'll see you guys in Naples, January 17th of 2026 at the Four Effing Seasons, bro. That sounds fantastic. Sounds delicious. Sounds very comfortable. I think I'm going to get a room there for a night or something. Anyways, guys, love you all. Smash the like button, consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.